Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Eric. She's Donna. We are the Real Siblings and your hosts for this unconventional, unique, and altogether unusual podcast. In every episode, we blend real estate together with lifestyle as we work to communicate, educate, connect, and entertain our listeners. While the topics vary and our conversations always go in many directions, we endeavor to provide our listeners with insights into our industry, better equipping them for their next real estate transaction. Now, once again, welcome. Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoy what you hear and that you choose to join our growing community. Donna.
Hi, Eric. Good morning. So everybody, sometimes we have a lot of fun on here and we talk about topics that I think are really fun, and then sometimes we have to talk about other things because that's what we're supposed to do. So
In this.
yes. So today, my brother thought that we should have a conversation about home warranties, and kind of how we feel about them. But even beforehand, Eric, you and I had a little bit of discussion about the fact that Texas is a little bit different from Arizona in the verbiage we use. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Right. So in Texas, the common vernacular, I guess, around the country and you hear regularly is a home warranty. But in Texas, they get a little bit more specific and they say that only a builder, like a manufacturer, can offer a warranty. They're the ones who originated, created the product, whether that you get a warranty on a TV, you get a warranty on a house because the builder built it. Anything else is insurance, and it is considered to be a residential service company that provides the coverage, and you get a residential service contract, not a home warranty. Distinctly different.
And different than home insurance that you have to have when you buy the property. If you have a lender, that's not the same either. It's no wonder people get confused.
Right,
You know,
right.
I'm confused. So we talked a little bit, not just about the difference in verbiage, but whether we use home warranties, whether sellers use them, whether buyers use them, and kind of what are the defining factors in those decisions. What's your experience with, do your listings, do you encourage people to have home warranties when they're listing, or how do you go about things?
Okay, so I guess we need to clarify that. So when you are getting ready to list a house, if the owner doesn't currently have a policy that's in effect,
Right.
many of the companies who will provide coverage on the home after the transaction or after the closing also provide what's known as seller coverage. And it's limited in scope, but it's additional protection during that time when the doors are open, people are walking in and out, things can fail. I mean, there's a reason everybody jokes about Murphy's Law, right?
Right.
Inevitably, I haven't had any kind of problem with now the
Yeah.
air conditioner, the water heater, whatever the case may be. And if you have a company that provides a very low cost coverage for the seller, then yeah, it may make sense to do it because
There,
things happen.
there are some that don't even charge during the listing process.
Right.
If they know you're going to offer one to the buyer when the buyer closes. So that is, well, and then we've gone from the, even if somebody thinks they need it, this goes like to the whole risk taking thing and rolling the dice, right? So if my hot water heater, which I don't really know how old it is, I tried to have somebody look the other day and I swear it's like scratched out. But I've
That
been,
means it's probably original to the house going back to the 1979, Donna.
right. That's what I'm thinking. It looks better than that, Eric. But the truth is that it's not in the house. Now I have a home warranty, and we can talk about that more later. But part of me thinks, should I replace it just to replace it? And if I was going to put it on the market, would I preemptively replace it, or would I let the buyer roll the dice with that, piece of things, because it hasn't leaked yet? It's not in my house. It's in my laundry room, and that's going to go downhill the other way. So there's this huge question. And you and I talked just briefly about COVID. And when COVID started and buyers were just moving and weren't even seeing homes, and sellers weren't giving buyers anything.
Right. The buyers were in a position going, bring me your best and it better be good because I'm not accepting anything less than more than what I'm asking for. And
Right.
don't ask for anything.
Right. So the other piece of this conversations becomes the portion that I can do it myself. So, you and I in the business, we work with contractors, and I was telling Eric earlier, everybody, that when I lived in Lindsay, I was there for 20 years after I was married, and between my dad and my husband, I had people that could do stuff. Not electricians, but dad was a really good woodworker. Gil was a mechanical engineer. They both had some ability to fix things. I can paint a door. I can get on a two-step ladder, but I'm not doing electric and I'm not doing plumbing. I have bits and pieces and parts for things that came in kits that I don't even know what they go to. So
But you felt like you better save them in case you need them.
Right, in that same place with all the technology stuff that's probably expired, the cords and cables that don't work. So for me, I have kept a home warranty, and I put one on the condo that I bought for an Airbnb. Also, ironically, two different companies, kind of to test and to see what was covered. But because I know that I don't feel comfortable doing many of those things. So for me, a home warranty has been logical. Do you have one? Do you guys have one on your place?
I do not. And part of that is because we, in the 22 years we've been at our house now, pretty unique.
Yeah.
In that our air conditioner, when we had to replace it, I replaced with a geothermal air conditioning system, or what's known as a water furnace. And most residential service companies, home warranty companies, do not cover geothermal air conditioners. So that's issue number one. I have a well, I don't have a water system.
Right.
And how they cover a well is very different than, because normally these policies cover what's in the house or
Yeah.
ancillary specific to the house.
Right.
Our well is like a water supply from a city, and they're not going to touch it. If you have problems with your water coming in from the water main in the city, not going to be touched by your insurance company, not going to be touched by your residential service company. So geothermal air conditioner, not covered. Well system, not covered. Septic system, limited coverage. There are septic companies who will provide and say, hey, we'll cover the pump on an aerobics septic system, and that's an entirely different story. We said when we did our talking trash episode that we were going to talk crap. Well, we haven't gotten there yet. I've got a whole lot of that going on in my house right now. I've been out working on my septic again the last couple of weeks, but because of those limited coverages, it's like, okay, now what are they going to cover? They're going to cover I don't have a garbage disposal. That's another thing that's traditionally covered.
Yeah.
They're going to cover my water heater, maybe. And they're going to cover
dishwasher, maybe.
Yeah. So there's some small things, but from my standpoint, it just isn't worth the amount of money.
Yeah.
Based on the major systems at my house that are not going to be covered anyhow, I'd rather set the money aside to pay for the trans. But that's me.
Yeah, no, and so that's, and listeners, I'm assuming at this point, that I'm in a town and I'm in a townhouse and stuff, if you've listened to any of our other episodes. So mine's the opposite, right? I'm connected to the neighbors. I have city water, city sewer, all of those things. However, what I have found, and just so you all know, I have had an air conditioner replaced at both locations. And I just saw one of our home warranty reps in the office yesterday or the day before, and it's heating up. We're at 105 degrees. So that's when they start getting busy, because air conditioners work in the winter because you're not using them, right? So you turn them on and things happen. And for me, I had somebody say to me, well, you could have bought the new air conditioner. They're right, because I've lived here 10 years and I've paid now between $550 and $700 a year for the home warranty. And for those of you who have never had one or used one, there is typically a service call of $65, $75. And then that has to be someone who is suggested or working with the home warranty company. You just can't randomly call your best friend and have them come over and give you a price. So when my air conditioner where I live right now was done, I know that they had bought them in bulk, right? They have a bunch of them. They don't just go buy one for Donna. And so the price that they paid is less than what I would pay to go buy one and get it installed. So have I, and did I through the years between $500 and $700 a year buy a new air conditioner myself? Yep. But did I have to do it at a moment's notice and come up with the money in the peak of the season when they're not easily available?
And in the meantime, you have had coverage for other systems that are covered in your area and because of where you live.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the thing for me. I have to remember that stuff. Like I'm the kind of a person that's inclined, like if the dishwasher doesn't work, I just call the appliance guy. Like, oh, wait. I need to find out if the dishwasher would be covered, under the home warranty. So for me, it's made sense to have them. And that is maybe just a little bit of, what's the words? Just knowing inside myself that it's there as compared to freaking out if something that I consider major goes wrong.
Right. Now, I want to go back to one of the things you were saying when you started that, in that you saw one of your home warranty representatives.
Yeah. Yep.
At your office.
Yep.
And part of our discussion before this is in Texas, this is a really, really, really big deal. And they really feel strongly that we have to have and disclose that there are residential service companies who call on us as agents at our office.
Yep.
And every single brokerage, whether it's a franchisee or an entirely independent boutique, have different people who call on them that become signature partners or something along those lines.
Affiliated business, some of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
But in Texas, if you have a company who does that, specifically related to being a residential service company, there's an entirely separate form disclosure that the Texas Real Estate Commission, TREC, put together that requires my signature on it, identification of who those residential service companies are that are marketing to us are, what type of marketing they may do, and it requires their signatures. It also
requires your buyers.
It requires the buyer's signatures.
Okay.
And if you're representing the seller, you have to tell the seller too, and do a separate disclosure that gets the seller's signatures on it. And this all comes out to the fact that we are a litigious society.
Yeah.
And at some point, someone felt like they were steered in a direction of making decision on a home warranty, a residential service company. And guess what? They don't feel like they got the coverage they deserve. So now we're filing a complaint saying, well, the only reason I used them is because said that this is who this is
the bill of goods.
This is who I should use.
Yeah. That is, it's a fascinating topic to think about. And then going to the whole, when something happens, people are like, do I call my home insurance company? Do I call State Farm or Allstate or whoever I might be with? Or do I call my warranty? Because people don't know, right? I barely know. So I have to go back and refer when things happen. I'm sorry. There's something beeping outside my house that's not quite like a car alarm. Sorry, folks. A little distracted right there as I'm listening to whatever's happening outside.
So early on, when I started, I had clients who had a residential service contract.
Okay.
They had coverage. They were the owners. They had coverage.
Yeah.
And just prior to our closing, like a Friday before a scheduled Monday closing, They found that there was a little water below the toilet in the half bathroom.
Okay.
Felt like it needed to be addressed. And
Okay.
the best decision was, well, we're going to pull it. So they pulled it themselves. And then forgetting, not thinking about the fact, because this happens too, people have coverage and then they go, well, it's not covered by insurance. We got to get this fixed. Otherwise, we're not going to close the house.
Yeah.
Guess what? They had someone come in who's like, oh no, they can't do it, but I can do it for you on the weekend. But the flange is messed up. We're gonna need to jackhammer into the ground and put a new flange in and da 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 da. And I'm going, oh my gosh.
Wow.
Had them get in touch with the residential service company. It was covered, and I remember being there when the plumber arrived. Now, thing to point out on these residential service companies, they're insurance companies. They are not the providers who are providing the service. It's going to be an independent contractor, a plumber, an electrician, appliance repair person, something along those lines, who's not actually an employee or in any way
Of the company.
affiliated
Right.
with whoever you're paying the money to for the warranty.
Right.
So the plumber comes in the door and he said, if this had been, and he listed 5 different companies, he said, I wouldn't be able to touch it because the owners pulled the toilet at this point. Only because of the coverage that they had and the one company that they happened to have their contract with was it covered and it was taken care of and it was done for $75. And the guy,
Just the removal of the toilet, just taking the toilet off.
just taking it out, it's like, you've done too much, you've messed things up. Now we don't know whether you didn't cause the damage.
Holy cow.
So coverage, policies, who's doing it, every single one of the companies. When I talk to my clients about this, it's like, look, I have a separate list because, again, this is so important for us here in Texas. When I give them this form that the Texas Real Estate Commission requires that we provide, I have a list of 21 companies that I know provide coverage in and around South Texas, San Antonio, in that area. I advise them, because my form includes the name of the business.
Wait a minute, 21, I'm gonna call them home warranty, 21 residential service providers, you have that many?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Yes. So in order to make sure I'm in no way potentially saying I'm steering you towards something,
Right, right.
here's the list of 21 companies.
Wow.
Here's a phone number and here's a website where you can get more information. You need to decide what you think is best, because you mentioned a range of a service call, $65, $75.
Right,
Typically in our area now, it's up to $100,
okay.
but it can still vary depending on, because I'm sure in Tucson, you're getting the same thing. It's like, it's not just one policy. Every single company now provides
Yeah. You can have,
a bronze, silver, gold,
yeah,
probably a platinum them at some
platinum.
point.
Yeah, and then do you wanna add a pool, and are there 2 air conditioners, and yeah, yeah,
And when we talked about haciendas, I'm sure some of them
yeah,
in your area, they provide
yeah,
fountains
yeah,
and water gardens and things like that. So you can get that coverage, but not all of them do it.
no,
All of them cover things differently. The
yeah.
service calls are different. The amount of coverage, it depends. And it's important that they actually invest a little bit of time in this very, very important decision to look at it and review it and not just go, well, who do you think I should use? It's like, I'm sorry, I can't make that recommendation for you. That's why I gave you a list of 21 companies.
So let me throw something out there to you and get your opinion on this. So, my kitchen, you knew I had the roof leak a few years ago and I had all that taken care of. And then I remodeled my kitchen. So in the remodeling of the kitchen, let's just say that my dishwasher, which I hardly ever used, and to be honest, folks, it was all the rubbery parts were dried up and I knew it leaked, which is part of the reason I never used it. So I kept waiting until I was going to have a new kitchen. So let's just say I didn't know any of that and I had used the dishwasher. And the dishwasher, I had left the house and it flooded my kitchen. And now it damaged the kitchen, new or old, doesn't matter, right? So now I have to file a home insurance claim with
Right.
my home insurance company, because now I might need all new flooring and cabinets and all of that. With the home warranty people, the residential service provider, replace my dishwasher? Like, that's because that's where the original problem initiated from.
Right.
That's covered by that other policy. Now I'm going to tell you how my brain works. That's too much work for me. I'm just going to buy a dishwasher. Like I can't even put myself, after all the construction and all the stuff I did and how I kind of acted as my own contractor, which
General contractor. Yeah.
yeah, general contractor. So anyway, but that would be right, correct? I mean, in theory, the service provider would have been the one of that list of 21 that you chose, that you have that group, that policy with, that would say, yes, there was a defect in the dishwasher. Now you've paid me my $75 or $100 service call, and yes, we'll let you get a new dishwasher for $300. I don't know. Whatever.
Yes. And that's one of the things that with the homeowner's insurance, because our house, because of our caustic water, has flooded,
Yep.
insurance will pay for the cleanup and the repair
Yep.
of the home. They
Yep.
don't fix the plumbing.
Yeah. No. What about a restoration company? If you have to call a restoration company right now for fans for mold, that's like
Yep.
a whole separate thing, right? Yeah.
It is. And so within the state of Texas, and I don't know if it's regulated the same way, the Texas Department of Insurance is the entity at the state level that actually oversees residential service companies.
Wow. Okay.
So, and it's no different than anything else. Everybody has their own personal experience, and every single one of them is different.
Right. Right.
I really, really, really have a hard time. It's like, look, I gave you the list. I really can't tell you. You have to make a decision here, because anything else could be perceived as me directing you and pushing you in one direction. And then if coverage isn't there, whose fault is it?
Yeah.
Eric, you told me, you said.
Yeah.
So that's why and it comes down to it where, honestly, I don't know about you, but I've had buyers that it's the week before closing and you have to get this information in and ordered because you've negotiated for the seller,
right, to pay something or whatever,
to pay for something, and you have a number hanging out there.
Yeah.
And now you need to find out if that number is going to even be close to what they decide they need to have coverage on, because they want to add A, B, and C, and they want to do this. And it's like, well, look, we only negotiated for 750.
But yeah, that is exactly right. Yeah.
And now it's more.
Now you want 900 or 1,000. So you're responsible for that difference.
Right. So not only has we gotten to that decision and we have to have those orders, and that has to be to your title, your escrow company, so that they know it's all being set up.
Yeah.
We talked about the fact that one of the last things you do with your buyer is you do a buyer's final walkthrough of the property within 24 hours of your closing.
Right.
I'm so anal retentive that if
about you, brother.
if I go see a house the day before the closing, I will get up the morning of the closing and still drive back out to the house, and I snap a picture of the house. I don't go in, but I snap a picture of the house and send it to my buyer clients to go, it survived the night. Because we've had enough incidences here in South Texas where the hailstorm hits.
Yeah.
And the hailstorm destroys. Heck, our son, Rich, just PCSing from Florida to Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Was in town for less than 48 hours into their new town up in North Texas.
Yep.
Got told they had to shelter in place at the Target they were at, picking up a couple of things.
Oh my God.
And they now have a claim in for a $22,000 new roof. And
Rich wrote about this, didn't he?
Car insurance, because the car was damaged.
Holy crap.
And they'd only been in the house for 2 days.
Welcome to Texas.
Welcome to Texas. So had that incident occurred, and this happened in April of 2016 in my area of Texas, we had the worst insurance event in history, bigger than any hurricane or anything else, come across all of San Antonio. And it was a hailstorm. Hailstorm that was producing baseball size hail on a path that was almost 5 miles wide that went for over 40 miles across the ground. Houses, transactions all over the city
Yeah.
died that day because you could not deliver a house in as is condition. And you had said, what
Yeah.
when your clients go through as is means what?
Essentially the same condition as when you looked at it. Yeah.
Right. So you knew that it had stains on the carpet. You accepted that.
Old
Carpet stains are
windows,
still
whatever
there.
it
If you
is.
didn't, yep, all of those things are still in place. But you got shattered windows because of a hailstorm, because of the fire, because of whatever.
Which is
Then
another reason that sellers never cancel their homeowners insurance prior to getting the keys transferred and
that's right, till funding and closing, right?
yeah. That I only heard one story about that from someone in my office where during monsoon season a tree in the backyard fell the day before closing across and hit the car in the driveway and the wall into the next house and landed in the neighbor's yard. And so an insurance claim. Now, it wasn't the house. So they were able to go ahead and close with the seller taking care of the wall, some things like that. And I think it was the seller's car, not the buyer's car then. But yeah, it ain't over till it's over. And even then, poor God, Rich and Susan.
Yeah. I mean, they were in Florida for about 16 months and they had 2 hurricanes
Right.
come through in their part of the state. And then they're PCSing, they move 48 hours and they have this hailstorm and are now insurance claim on a new roof and everything else.
I should tell them to come back to Tucson because although it's very hot, we don't usually have that stuff. I can't say never because Jose is doing some roofs from the random hail too. So
right.
Weather.
So then one of the others is we've talked about the fact they do this final walkthrough. And again, do your clients, do the buyers over there have any kind of form they have to sign that says, yes, we did the walkthrough and yes, we accept it?
Yes, it can be, yes, it can, it's in essentially the same condition. That's the very top of the document. It can be, yes, however, these things, and there's still stuff that needs to be done, which means it's probably not going to close. And then, or we're not going to do a final walkthrough, or I give my realtor the right to do the final walkthrough. And with those, like there are those who have done that. And in that case, I do a video and like you, the outside, because I've had buyers who've never been here to see the house. They're not going to do a final walkthrough,
Right.
And sometimes that's a relative. My brother goes, my aunt goes, things like that. So I just said aunt like I'm an East Coast person. That was weird, like out of my own mouth. My aunt.
My aunt.
My aunt.
My aunt. So, and with our form, in the time that I've had my license now, has gone through 3 major changes. The original was, yep, we walked through the property, we saw it on this date, signed it, dated it. Yes, we accepted it.
Yep.
The first change to that form during my time has been, we chose to have the house inspected, yes or no. And we accepted it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay. Now, the latest version of that form went from, again, think over time, it was, yes, we've seen the house, we accept it as is. Second iteration was, yes, we chose to have it inspected, and yes, we're accepting it.
Okay.
The inspection was really just, again, we've got to make sure our clients, it's like, look, we really told you you should have this inspected. No, I'm not paying an inspector for that. It looks fine. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Now our form says it's been inspected, yes or no. I chose to have it re-inspected, yes or no. I chose to purchase a residential service contract, yes or no. Before closing, I did a walkthrough, or before closing, I decided to go sight unseen and sign and date this form. So all of those boxes now have to be checked because this is such a big thing. And the residential service company, residential service policy is that much of a big deal. And I think in our last episode 48, where we talked about markets on the 8th, if Your buyer makes a decision to buy more than you negotiated for. Guess what? If you're the buyer's agent,
Yeah. You might be
right?
stuck
You
with it.
you may be contributing to their decision
Yeah, yeah.
because coming up with another $100 to cover something is like, yeah, well, we'll just make sure
We're
this
not going to
happens.
lose a deal for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
all
So
right.
that's it. Why don't you bring this one to a conclusion for us, sister?
Wait, I might have to put my glasses back on, but I'm not going to read this because it's a really long document, you guys. So, as we close, we do want to thank you for joining and listening. And hopefully this was helpful to you. I would love to hear your comments. On YouTube, you can comment below. On the podcast, just let us know, or on Facebook or wherever we're your friends. Let us know your experiences with home warranties, residential insurance companies, however they go. So, we talk a lot about growing up in Lindsay, Ohio, and the homes that we lived in there and the houses, and now about how we work in Eric in South Texas and San Antonio area, and myself in Tucson. We are both with Keller Williams, and we have not only the ability to refer business to each other, but we are part of a national and international community where if you are relocating, Eric, you mentioned your son PCSing. If you're moving because the military is saying go somewhere else, we can probably help you find a realtor in that area. And we would be happy to do that. So I think that that's my summation of what I'm supposed to say, Eric. So until next time, this is, it may be simple. It ain't always easy. And I'm Donna.
And I'm Eric.
And we are
Real
real
siblings.